what should be in the range, like what particular number we should consider to be in the range.
0 to 11.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You're going right. And then what should we print as an output?
Print
Multiples of 2. So
then we will give the logic na, that a
Hmm.
is equal to 2 and x is the range. So suppose variable y is equal to a into x,
Mhm.
and then print y.
Okay. So just a second. So we know that whenever we write a table, right, we write it in this way, right? 2 times 1, which is equals to 2, and then 2 times 2, that will be equal to 4. So in the similar way, we see this remains common, right? The first number here, that is 2 will remain constant as it is, because that's the table of 2. But the only thing changing is the number with which we are multiplying it, right? Like 1 times, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, and consequently the output as well, like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So the range that you talked about, we have to give a particular range, and the range will be this thing. Like this thing will be considered as the range, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we have to print this particular output, which you said will be the multiples of 2. But we have to first calculate the multiple of 2, right? And then only we can print the multiple of 2, right? So first logic will be to give a particular range, because we have to consider the table of 2, and it will go from 1 to 10, right? So that will be our first range. And the second thing is we have to first calculate the multiple of 2, and then we have to print that particular multiple. Okay, and that multiple should also like be printed like in this particular format, like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, whatever it is. Okay, so what we can do is we can just start with, let's say, an arbitrary variable n, and let's assign it a value of 2, saying that we are going to print table of 2. So we have taken first a variable and assigned a value of 2. Now we can just consider any number, let's say for x in range. Now we know that our first number will start from 1. 2 ones are 2, so we'll have to start with 1, and we have to go till 10. So what should I write here? 10.
11.
11,
11.
yes, because yeah, so it will take one less than 10, right? So it will be 11. And then here what we can do is we have to now calculate the multiple of 2. So let's say I store that value in another variable. Let's say I write it as product, and then the product, what will be the product actually? So it will be n, because n remains constant, right? Throughout the table of 2, 2 will remain constant, like 2 ones are 2, 2 twos are 4, 2 threes are 6. So this will remain constant, so that's why n. And then we will multiply n with x, because x keeps on changing with respect to our range. So as a range, because x will take all the values within this particular range, 1 to 11. So that's why x will keep on changing. And then finally we want to print our product, whatever our product is. So we'll print our product, and then you just run your table. So it will give you the final answer as uh, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. So what it basically does is, first we have defined a variable which contains that particular number, which will remain constant throughout the table. So 2 will remain constant throughout the table. So that's why we have first defined it a value of 2 and given it a constant value. It won't change. Now we have to now understand what will keep on changing in the table is the range through which the table of 2 will keep on increasing. So for that we have a range from 1 to 10, but what we have given, and then we have to calculate the product of it as well. So what it does here is that first it calculates the first value, that is 1. So x takes the value of 1, and then it goes into this one, right? So now it says that, okay, I've taken the value of 1, whether 1 is in the range of 1 to 10, so it is true. It goes inside the for loop. It calculates the product, that is n times x. So n is 2, and now the x is 1. So 2 ones are 2, and it stores the value, or it prints the value here, that is 2. Then it again goes into this loop. It takes another number 2. It says, okay, 2 is in the range of 1 to 11, 1 to 11, and then it goes inside this particular loop. Now n remains constant, but the value of x now changes from 1 to 2. So 2 to the 4, it prints the product as 4. It keeps on iterating it till 10. So 10, it goes till 10, sees, okay, 10 is within this particular range, and then it multiplies 2 times 10 and give you the final product as 20. So this is how you can print any basic number, a table of a number. Is this clear with everyone?
Sir, this is clear, but just wanted to add if, for example, instead of writing a table, I just want to make a table where I have to multiply, I have given a range 1 to 11, and we have given a logic product is equals to n multiplied by x. But then after getting the first result, like 2 into 1 will be 2, then I want that the result should be multiplied with the next number in the range. Instead of 2 multiplying with the next number in the range, I want the result to be multiplied with the next number in the range.
Okay. So in that case, what you have to do is you just have to add another variable, which is count, that we saw in the previous lectures. So you have to add another variable. So in that case, what happens? This won't remain constant, right? Because this will also keep on changing. Because we have to multiply whatever the next number comes here, we have to multiply it whatever the product was, like the previous product, right? Yes. So when it takes the next number, it will multiply it with like 2 times 2, which will be 4, and once it takes 3, it will multiply with 4 because that was our previous product. So in that way, what you have to do is you also have to keep on updating the product as well. The number, the x here, the x thing will remain the same because it will keep on taking it from this particular range only, right? But you have to update the product also. Now what happens here is you can't update the product like what we were doing in previous examples, like product plus equals to 1. You can't do that, right? Because then what will happen is your product won't remain the same, because the very first time we got a product as 2, but if we update the product as product plus equals 1, it will make the value of product as 3. But we don't want that, right? Because we only want 2 as a product, and then we want that in the next step we have to multiply it with the product itself. So in that case, what you want is you have to run another loop, like for or within a for loop, just as we were doing in the pattern thing. So
nested for basically.
Yeah, nested for basically you have to run it, because you can't update the product here, because if I do this thing here, product plus equals to 1, then it doesn't comply with what I actually want here, right? Because then it will increase the product value by 1, and that is not what we want here. So we can't do this thing we can't do this one here. So for just to do this particular thing, we have to create another for loop whereby we will be giving the instructions saying that, okay, now multiply whatever the next number in the range is, multiply it with the previous product, right? We will see the uses of this thing when we will be studying about Fibonacci sequence. So today we will also be explaining about like how to print Fibonacci sequence. And as you know, in Fibonacci sequence, the next number is actually the sum of the previous 2 numbers, right? So what will happen is you have to keep on updating the previous 2 numbers also, so that you get the sum of the so that you can get the next number. That is how a Fibonacci sequence will see. So we'll be discussing this. So this particular example will happen in Fibonacci sequence when we will be studying about that. So we will also see today the Fibonacci sequence. We'll see today how to do that. So I guess then you will be able to understand how you can use the previous product and then update the product itself. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So the next thing now that we can do is to see, let's say, I want to print a number. The question is, I want to print any particular number until and unless it is less than 5. I want to write a program that will give me the number in the output until and unless it is 5. If it is more than 5, it won't give me the final output. So how do you think we should do that? Any idea?
So are you talking about a string, or are we talking about user-defined values?
No, let's say we have already given a value. So what my question basically is, I want to write a program that will give me the output, like that will give me a number in this, like in this sense, I need a number, and will keep on giving me that number until and unless that particular output number is less than 5. If it is more than 5, then my program will end automatically. Right? So how do you think we should do that?
So like you told to not include it, so then we define a variable, and then we say unless this is not, if it is equal to 5, then don't print it. If x is equal to 5.
सर while loop लगा सकते हैं, जैसे हमने वो I वाले
हाँ।
मतलब उसमें किया था कि मतलब वो
Right.
वहां तक का प्रिंट
Right.
करेगा I+1 तक जो किया
राइट
था।
राइट लाइक जब तक वो 5 से कम है तब तक वो प्रिंट करता रहेगा, राइट. दैट वाज व्हाट आवर while used to stand for, right? Until and unless this thing is true, it will keep on updating it. As soon as this condition is false, it will break out of the loop, right? So you can tackle any one particular problem from any kind of loops. The only thing what you have to understand is how to optimize your program, like how better you can optimize the program, so by using which kind of loop. Okay, so you have to look at the question, like the condition, and also like specifically what the condition says. So what we can do here is, let's say we take a variable as count and we initialize it as 0. So we have given it a particular value of 0, and then what we can do is we can start off with our while condition, saying that while our count is less than 5, right? Like until unless our count is less than 5, it will keep on giving me the final output. As soon as the number or the count increases more than 5, the loop will break out of itself. Okay, so what I can do is I can just write while count is less than 5, just print the count. Say I add something saying that less than 5. So it will, what this particular command will do is, it will first print the value of the count followed by this particular statement, that is less than 5. Okay, and then what I can do is, now I have to update my count also, right? Because it is a while loop, so you have to keep on repeating the loop. So what I will do is I'll just update my count also. So what I can do is I can write count plus equals to 1, like update the count, because initially the value of count is 0. So if I don't give this particular statement, the value of count remains at 0, right? So every time what happens is the output that you will be getting is 0 0 0 0 0. You won't get the next number. So for that you also have to update the count. So what we can do is we can just write count plus equals to 1, and then this is our first condition. Now if this is not true, we can write else print the count, and we can say not less than 5, let's say not less than 5, and then we can just let's see if this particular thing runs or not. So see here what it does is, first it prints the value of 0. So first Python says that okay, the value of count is 0. It goes to this particular condition. Now this condition says count should be less than 5. So is 0 less than 5? Yes, 0 is less than 5. So it goes into this loop. And what the first statement is, you have to print the count. So it prints the value of count and then prints this particular statement as it is, which is less than 5. And then it goes to another statement, another line, and says, okay, user now wants me to update the value of count. So it increases the value of count by +1. Then again it goes back to this condition. Now it says, okay, now if is 1 less than 5, it is true. Then again it follows it with this one saying 1 is less than 5. Then again it increases the count to 2, 3, 4. Now it goes till 4. It gives you the answer as 4 less than 5. Now once it has given you the answer of 4, then it updates the value of the count to 5. Now again it goes to this particular condition. Now it says, is 5 less than 5? No, this condition is false because 5 is equal to 5, not less than 5. So this condition fails. So it breaks out of the loop, goes into the else condition. Now here else condition says, if this condition is not true, we should print this one. So it prints the value of 5 followed by a condition, followed by the statement not less than 5. Okay, so this is how you can use a while loop basically. Like if the question says that print, keep on printing a number until and unless it is less than 100 or until unless it is less than 1000, keep on printing that particular number. So thereby you can use a while loop, and then accordingly you can increase the count or update the count, and the while loop keeps on iterating itself. Okay, and as soon as the condition fails, it goes to the else loop and give you the final output. Is this clear with everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now we will be looking at the question from last class, which was basically the pattern thing. So yesterday what we saw was how to print the pattern, the star pattern, using a for loop basically. Okay. Now what we'll do is we will target the same question. Instead of using a for loop, we will be using the function that we studied, like how to create a function and how to give the parameter and how to write the expressions. Okay. So just to brush up, let's just like quickly look at the for, using for loop, how do we print it, and then we will be discussing about the functions. So what we do is in any kind of pattern problem, as I already told you, you have to consider two things. First is the rows and the second one is column. And every time when you run the first loop is always dedicated to rows and the second loop is always dedicated to columns. Okay. So what I can write is, for I in range. So here I basically is for the rows. I've dedicated my variable I for rows, and similarly I will dedicate another variable j for my column. And what I can write here is for I in range, and let's say my range is 1 to 6. Okay, and then I can create another loop which will be basically for the column one. So what I can write here is for j in range. Now here the range will be starting from 1, but it will go till the rows, like, because the column will depend on the rows, how much rows we are going to print. So the column range will always depend on the row range, right? So here that's why our final aim would be to do 1i plus 1, that is till whatever number our rows goes, the column range will always go one more than that one, because we have to consider it, because it is a square type of thing, right? A rows as well as a column. So rows will go from like left to right, and column will go from top to down. So we have to consider the grid. It is considered basically as a grid type of system. So that's why our column will always depend on the rows. So this will be our range condition for our column, and then you can just like print whatever we want to print. Let's say we print star, and then you have to end it, and we'll end it with a space, like null space, a void space, because we don't want that one. That's why in that way only we can get a pyramid type of shape. So we'll write, and sometimes what happens is you can get a very peculiar type of pattern in which there will be a pyramid, but the following number won't be followed by a negative space or a void. It will always be followed by something. So in that pattern, what you can do is you can always add something here. So this basically end means you are ending that particular line with something. So here we are just ending our line with a star followed by a negative space. So that's why we haven't given anything. But there will be certain time questions whereby they will be asking you to end a particular line, let's say star followed by something. So you can always add something here. In that way, you can twitch your codes basically to see how the output pattern is. Okay, and then you'll just finally write a final function as print. So whatever your output will be, you will print it as it is. So once you run it, you'll get a star pattern in this way. Okay, so this is how you do it when you are using a for, basically a for loop. But the same program can be run by using a function. So let's say the first how to do these things using a function questions. So the very first.
So the last print, I did not understand why was there necessary.
Okay. So what happens? Okay, so what happens here is basically once you run this particular line, so this what this particular line does is it prints your star function. Let's say we consider the first line here. So what happens here is once it takes the value of j, it says okay, the value of j is in between this range. So it will print the star followed by an end function that is a negative space. Okay. Now once it prints this particular thing, then it again will run the particular loop here, right? But what happens is the next time when you run this particular loop, the value is not true right now because you haven't updated the value of I, right? Because when the first time you are running the value of I, let's say you take the value of I is 1, okay? So it takes the value of I is 1. This condition is true, thereby it goes into the second for loop. Now here the value will be I, now the value of I is 1. So the range becomes 1 to I plus 1, that is 1 plus 1 is 2. So now the range of j is from 1 to 2, okay? So j, now j will take the first value as 1. So it says okay, 1 falls in the range of 1 to 2. So this condition is true. Now before going to this for loop, it will first go into this for loop to see whether this condition is still valid or not. So now the next value of j is 2, but 2 doesn't fall in the range of 1 to 2, right? So this condition falls again. So what it does, it goes into this particular loop. Now this particular loop still has print in it because this print is actually inside this for loop, right? It's not outside of this for loop. So it will print. So what it will print is whatever up until now this program did, it will print it as it is. So what basically this program does is the first command that you have given, it prints it and it automatically creates a new line here. Like the next thing that you will start, it won't start from here, it will start from the next line here onwards. Then it will again go to this loop and take a new number that is 2. And then again it will see whether 2 is in between this particular range or not. So this is true, it will go into this one. When j updates to 3, then 3 doesn't fall in this particular range. So this line will fall out and then it will break out of this loop. But still this condition hasn't been satisfied, right? This program, this line hasn't been run. So it will run this line and then again go and update the value of I. And in similar way, this will keep on iterating itself. So what basically this here is, until and unless a particular loop has given you all the answers, like every line of codes in a particular in a loop is not fulfilled, it won't repeat the loop again and again, right? So what happens is, before going to this particular loop, it will first clarify whether every condition has been satisfied for this particular loop or not. If the conditions aren't satisfied for this particular loop, it will keep on iterating this loop only. Once the conditions of this loop falls out, it will break out of this particular loop and then go inside this one, the main for loop. But in this for loop, this condition hasn't been satisfied. So it will first satisfy this particular condition and then update the value of I and then again go back to this loop. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay.
So if for any kind of loop to repeat itself, whatever codes you have given inside that loop has to be first fulfilled. Then only the loop can update itself. Okay. That is how a basic loop type of thing functions. Okay. So this is how a basic for, a nested for basically works for this kind of print. Now we'll be seeing how the function thing prints out. So the very first thing that we talked about yesterday was the basic rules of how to create a function. So if anyone can tell me what is the first rule of creating a function?
सर वो पैरामीटर डिफाइन करना कि कौन किस पे डिपेंडेंट है, मतलब जैसे वो
डायरेक्ट पैरामीटर से चालू करेंगे?
नहीं सर, वो आपने वो बताया
y is equal to fx.
तो वो तो वही है ना, मतलब
so right, how should तो basically how should I start it, like पहला
f वो आपने बताया था स्टार्टिंग में, वो डिफाइन वो d,
right हाँ. So the very first rule of any function is you have to first define a function, right? Then only you can start off with whatever parameters you want to add or whatever expressions you want to add. But the very first step is you have to define. So we will write def followed by your function name, and that function name can be anything, whatever the user wants. So let's say we are printing a pattern. So let's write pattern. Okay. Now here what comes is, here comes the parameter. That is on what parameter our function will depend. So our function is basically pattern, and now this can be kept as blank also, right? It totally depends upon the user. There are certain algorithms whereby when we will be studying about bio Python, thereby you can see sometimes there are functions which doesn't have any arguments. So that is basically just to pass any kind of value, right? Sometimes what happens is you have to define a function. Let's say, for example, we were talking about y equals to fx. So that was a function which I wanted to create, whereby my y parameter will always be sometimes some functions which you don't actually want to be dependent on any different kind of variables, right? So in that cases, you can keep this thing as empty as well. But let's say here I want it to be dependent on something, and that will be n. And we will see why we have kept this n here as it is. Now, just to keep this thing in mind, why we create a function is, now here in the previous question when we printed this particular pattern using nested for, what was happening was we at each line of loop we were giving it a particular condition, right? Let's say for whether be it a row or whether be it column, we were giving it a particular condition saying that this is the range in which you have to function out, or this is the output that you want to print, and end the line with a blank space or whatever it is. Okay. The best advantage of using a function is basically you create a function in a generalized way. So that is what the usage of function is. That is, whenever you create a function, it is a general sort of thing. Like it will be valid for any kind of number. For example, let's say you are growing, let's say a particular plant. Like let's say you are growing 10 plants in your garden, and you are noting down the growth rate or the growth rate of those plants every day, right? So what happens is, each day when you note the pattern of the growth rate of your plants, after let's say 1 week or let's say 1 month, you will be in a position to create a general pattern by looking at the data that you have stored out, right? And based on that data that you collected, you can create a generalized formula. That is, whatever you give the input to that formula, you will get the desired output that you want. That is how a basic formula works out. In the same way, a function works in Python. That is, you're creating a function in a generalized way, and then you can input whatever you want, and the function will give you the output. That is how a basic function thing works in a Python. Okay, so that's why we have first created first we have defined a function here, named it pattern, and we have given it a parameter n. That is, our pattern, basically the function name is pattern, and this will depend upon n, that is a parameter. Okay, now what we can do is we can write let's say for I in range, the same thing whatever we did with the previous question, the same thing here we will do it. So we will write 0, but here we will write till n, because what we will see is after, once you have completed writing your function, defining your function, this n will basically be a user input.